My plan for this morning is to share with you some of the most transformative technologies that today exist, that when we reflect together how these can be integrated into education. And also, part of the presentation will focus on what actions should be considered to develop capacities among educators, to be ready to use these technologies, to be ready to identify what pedagogical adaptations we can make out of that, but also, as it was presented a moment ago, what are the elements that we can see as an opportunity, as well as some challenges, because there are some challenges along the way. And so before the start, I want to ask if you can raise your hand, if you can use, or you have used ever any AI technology. Could you raise your hand? Okay, so I see like 2/3, that's fantastic. So if you have not, don't worry, today you will get an expert. You will be an expert on this at the end of the workshop. That's a little bit of the goal. So let's get into the topic. AI is an imperfect term because it's an umbrella concept and entails so many different technologies. It's a multi-purpose technology, just like the electricity or the agriculture. And the more we use it, the more invisible it will become, like the Wi-Fi. Now, within AI, we have generative artificial intelligence, which is the capacity of the machines to create images, videos, voice, text, movies, sound, with a proficiency that mimic human intelligence. So, as you can see in this diagram, you transition from complex text into a simplified text. You can transition from voice into text, or from voice into video, right? So that's an empowering capacity, but at the same time, we work in knowledge. So it's not only to having the output, but it's to ensuring the quality of the output is useful and relevant for our communities. But the more we use it, the more ubiquitous it becomes and the more transformative, in the sense that it's hard even for an expert eye to understand when a piece of content has been created by AI. So in education, we can use it for so many potential uses. We can use it for providing support to our students. We can use it to adapt and create new learning resources. We can use it to provide feedback, even to provide draft of assignments or draft of inputs for the students' text. We can use it for processing data. We can use it for creating content. There's so many possibilities behind when we have the basic skills. But at the same time, it's important to have in mind, in the radar, some of the trade-off. AI is about using data. So depending on the quality of the data will be the quality of the output. If this AI is trained with some data, it's likely that we will overrepresent some realities, and if it lacks some data, we will underrepresent. So that can generate biases. Or the quality of the data might be variable depending on how reliable it is. So it's very important that an expert eye has the possibility of assessing the value of that. In education, what we have observed in the last 2 years is there is an increasing adoption of AI solutions, and one of the risks that the evidence is rising today is users, they tend to over-rely on this technology. Over-rely means that when we trust without checking, and this is something that should be a matter of concern. Now, when we think in AI at the education level, I believe we should borrow ideas from this nature framework. This nature framework tells us that we should unpack between the needs, the challenges, and the opportunities. These three elements should go all together. What are the needs, the educational needs we have? What are the challenges we want to achieve? And what are the opportunities? Right? Having that in clear, we can also separate how that will impact students, how will impact teachers, and how will impact decision makers. For these three communities, we will have to design different strategies, and we will reflect some of that. So it's not the same AI for everybody under whatever context or circumstance. So we have many tools and technologies. I will share with you some of these technologies. Some of them look honestly amazing, if not magic. But the most common ones today are ChatGPT. I'm sure many of you have been using ChatGPT or exploring about that, or Claude, which is another AI tool that is very proficient for writing, or Gemini, or Copilot. So different companies have different technologies, and what I want to underscore here is different technologies will have different strengths and different weaknesses. They are not all the same. And if we understand the strength of each one of them, we can select depending on the kind of use, the kind of technology we want. How can we use those technologies? Well, we can use it for many things, as we said. We can use it to provide enriched feedback. We can use it to become a mentor or a tutor for the students, but also we see today research that AI can be a tutor for teachers. We can use it for translation of contents. We can use it for automating some routinary tasks. How many hours we spend in the week doing work that is routinary, that is repetitive. And in some cases, we can use some of this technology to release some time. So the literature today is telling us that there are two big trends that I think is important to have in the radar. These technologies can be used to automate some tasks, right? So we can save time automating repetitive tasks, but also we can, and this is much more interesting, we can augment capacities. We can use AI to do things that we were not able to do without this technology. Usually, when we integrate these sort of technologies, these two streams will come, but certainly thinking in the challenges of today and the challenges of tomorrow, it's going to be much more interesting to put emphasis in the augmentation of capacities, not only in the automation. So with all these caveats, I think now we can get into some of the real AI tools, and then, as I said, we are going to move into the system level analysis. So let me share some tools that I recommend to you to keep record, because I will ask you questions later, so you can take pictures or you can memorize them. So the first tool is Gamma. Gamma is a very user-friendly tool that will help you to make PowerPoint presentations very easy. You give it a little bit of an input, also known as a prompt, and you describe what is the context, and it will give you a very good first draft that then you have to polish, you have to clarify, you have to adjust. But it's a very time saver, a very good time saver that you can export again to documents, to PowerPoints, but also you can create a website. So you can create a website for your students with all the resources that you want to share. The website contains more information than a PowerPoint, right? But all these potential outputs can be easily automated. So Gamma is a tool that I recommend for teachers and for people thinking in education that can be very useful. I'm going to move to the next one, so I hope you could keep a good record of those. We mentioned Claude. Claude is similar to ChatGPT. Claude writes very, very well. Many of these tools are freemium, meaning that you can use them for free, and if you want to have the full features, you will have to pay a fee. But Claude is interesting because it will allow you to upload so many documents in the chat, and you can ask questions about those documents you upload. So that's incredibly useful when we want to analyze several documents for our class, or if we are giving a training, we can read and we can write throughout these different documents. And as you see here, you can ask it to give you concise or more detailed, more formal or informal outputs. So Claude is a really, really good tool that we can use in education. Should we move to the next one? This tool is very helpful for education as well. This is called Notebook LM. It's really, really powerful. And it allows you to do three things. Number one, you can upload several files in the number one. You can upload documents, you can upload videos, you can upload websites, you can upload podcasts. And you can create a little bit of a dashboard with all these materials. In number two, you can ask questions about these files that you have uploaded, right? Thinking if you're a history teacher, you can upload the resources in number one. In number two, you can ask questions. And in number three, and I'm going to show you that in a minute, you can get podcast audios of the analysis of those resources. Not only reading the resources, but much more interesting, a discussion of two people and reflecting on those resources. So obviously this can be an enhanced tool for diversifying how we can access information, right? So let's move to the next one. This is the same one, just in an animated version. You upload the files, you can ask questions, and you can export, and you can continuously feed. You can have up to 50 documents per each one of these folders. So think about that as an online desktop that can help and enhance our work and also collaborative work. I'm going to move to the next one because I have a few others to show you. This is another tool from Google that for me is simply very, very interesting, that allows you, if you allow, it will see your computer and it will give you feedback of the things or the tasks you want to do. I'm going to show a little demo so you can have a look at how this agent can see, can talk, and can give you inputs and help.
Wouldn't it be amazing if you can have an expert to guide you through learning any new software? Well, now you can, and it's completely free. Go to this website and click Stream Real Time, and at the bottom, turn on your mic and share your screen. I'm in Microsoft Excel now. Can you see my spreadsheet?
Yes, I can see your spreadsheet. It looks like it has columns for date, unit sold, product, and location. What do you need help with in Excel?
Yeah, so I have the product and location in one column, but I would prefer to have two separate columns. How do I do that?
Okay, you want to separate the product and location data into two different columns. To do this, you can use the text columns.
Okay, so you see, right? The software will give you inputs. If you land into a new website, you want to give instructions. I was joking with a friend, now it's much easier to pay taxes because you can get this little help, right? So you can explore that at home later. Now, I'm going to give you another quick demo that I hope can be useful for education. This is going to be a demo with a little bit of music. So what you see in the screen is a very normal, random qualifications report from any class. This is English as a second language, and as you can see, we have divided here by skills: reading, writing, fluency, etc. Okay, so I'm going to upload this normal report into GPT, and I want to show you what we can do with it. Okay, let's see if the experiment works. Okay, let's go. GPT, the one that you know, right? So the first thing is we simply upload the file into the GPT, and I have some prompts here. The first thing is I will ask to help me to understand what are the trends of this report. So we'll unpack what are the higher performers, the lower performance, what are the students that might require more help, what are some of the key insights. The second prompt will tell us how can we cluster the performance of the students. So based on the skills that you already saw, we can unpack what is the performance of each one of the students in each one of these skills, right? So this will give us a very high detailed spreadsheet on information that we can certainly download, export, or use for any kind of presentation. Now, but I felt that this was too dry. Maybe we can give some visualization to that. So my following prompt is, give me some of the average student performance by skills, by organized per quarter, right? So we have an over time analysis of the same information in a manner that we can see over time. Here you see the progression of the students, right? Obviously, these charts, you can download them or you can use it in the presentation. And I also asked, why don't you give me the same information, but with a rather chart? Sometimes we use different bars and it's going to be easier to present some trends in a way that we can better explain data, right? So you use a chart and you ask to visualize it in a rather chart, and again you have another way of using GPT to present the information in a different form. Now, I feel that wasn't enough, so I asked it to export it to another language, which is called MarkMap language. It's a language that computers use, it's similar to HTML, and it will allow us to have a much more interactive way of using this data. So you simply ask to export into MarkMap, and then you copy and paste it in a MarkMap reader that many online for free, right? So the MarkMap is a language that, again, that the computers understand. Oh, this is a heat map. Sorry, I jumped over myself. This is a heat map. It's the same information with blue, the high performance, red, the low performance. And now, yes, now is the MarkMap. So you will export all the data that I already shared with you in this language that is similar to HTML. You select the text and you copy in a MarkMap reader. So look at the right hand side. you will see all the information displayed in a mind map. You can collapse, you can expand, and you can have conversations about the data. So these are the sort of things that we can do with GPT, with simple commands, with simple prompts that we can repeat, but we can take it from the spreadsheet and to do much more meaningful messages. So I hope you can do some of these things at home. Another tool that I would strongly recommend you is deep research. Deep research is a feature from many of these AI tools that can help us to do deep analysis. So deep research can do like an expert would take between 3 and 5 days. It can do it in 30 minutes. So I'm going to show you now a demo. So deep research will be an opportunity for asking queries, and then we get this report, and GPT will send you an email saying, I'm ready with the report, here you have it. Again, always we have to double check the sources. And another tool that I will recommend is Perplexity. Perplexity is a tool in which you can ask the same questions, but the value of Perplexity for educators is you will always be able to double check the sources used. So you can corroborate if you're happy with the output or not. If you're not happy with the output, you are in control, right? So the big message here is we should be in a position to select and prioritize. But this tool also has deep research, so you can ask these more analytic reports that I think can be of help. So here we have another tool from Google, which is the equivalent to GPT, the equivalent to Perplexity, the equivalent of Claude, which is called Gemini. Gemini also have deep research. So I will see if Chagnosa will help me to do some links here. Are you there? I'm going to show you a little bit of a link. So can you open that link? Let's see if it works. So this is a link of an academic journal. Okay, let's see if we can see the website. If not, doesn't matter. No, we are not going to see the website. Doesn't matter. So this is an academic journal on AI and education. It's a journal that has been published for a number of years. There we are. So it's coming a little bit in the second screen. Thank you. I just want to see the website for colleagues to know. So it's a journal, as many, that has plenty of information about AI, right? Plenty of peer-reviewed papers. That's nothing. That's enough. That's perfect. So let's get back to the orange, please, the screen. So what I want to show you now, yes, we'll remove the browser. Let's get back to the browser. I won't ask you to do it again. I'm sorry, I didn't want to put you on the spot. Okay, that's great. Now you can collapse. You click the green on the top left. So this is a journal. And what I'm going to do now, when we get back to the orange, is I will ask deep research to do an analysis of all these papers, right? Yes, you can get it. Get out of it, please, so we can move to the demo. So I take the journal, I take the link, and I go to deep research. It's just struggling with the exercise. It's my fault. I didn't. Okay, so what I did is I asked this instruction to the deep research. I said, give me the information about this journal, the main findings about AI, the main results, the main opportunities, but also the challenges, and unpack the messages for students, for teachers, for administrators. Don't give me unified truths, give me the details because I want to understand. And it will give me a full report in that link. If you can open the link, that's fine. If there's a problem, we'll carry on. That's totally okay. So it will give me 15 pages of an analysis of the papers published from 2022. It's really, really helpful. You can access with the QR code that information. And then what I'm going to do, and I think this is really important, I will export this information in other multimodal formats. And I think this is very, very useful because when we combine different AI tools, we can get something much more interesting. So let me show you what I did when I upload the output of this deep research report into an avatar. So I ask an avatar to talk to another avatar in Russian. How many of you speak Russian here? Okay, few. So you can help me if the language is reliable. So they will discuss about this report, okay? Let's have a look.
Ну, смотрите, интерактивный фильм трансформирует образование. Он не просто помогает создавать материалы, он вообще меняет правила жизни.
А что ты думаешь о том, как он помогает учителям создавать персонализированный контент?
So these ladies don't exist. These ladies are just avatars. They have been trained with the information that we provide from the research. So I want you to reflect how this can be used in education. How can we expand our role using these kind of tools? Okay, so I did another experiment. I decided to involve a human in this discussion. I tried to find a volunteer. I couldn't find anyone, so I used myself as a volunteer. So I export this in a human to avatar discussion. Let's see if it works. Okay, let's give it a try. This is a call via Zoom with the avatar. Hey, how are you?
Can you still see and hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm doing well, thank you.
I can. I'm very good, thank you. I wanted to ask, how do you think I would use this avatar technology to integrate it into education? Do you have any input, any insight that I could learn from?
I'm glad to hear you're doing well. Here are a few ways you can integrate avatar technology into education. 1. Interactive lessons. You can use avatars to create interactive video lessons where the avatar presents the material in a more engaging way. This can help capture students' attention and make learning more enjoyable. 2. Personalized learning. By using avatars, you can create personalized education videos tailored to individual student learning styles and needs. For instance, an avatar could deliver customized feedback or explanations based on a student's performance. 3. Language learning. Avatars can be particularly effective in language education. They can demonstrate pronunciation, engage in conversational practice, and provide immersive language experiences, making learning more relatable and fun. 4.
That is great. That is great.
Online and high.
However, I wanted to ask, if a student gets lost or wants to have a clarification, wouldn't you be able to provide a much more personalized hands-on support?
Absolutely. Avatar technology can be designed to provide more personalized support for students who need clarity.
Okay, I think you get the idea, right? You can have a conversation.
1.
It's not a conversation like a human, but it's a conversation that is decent, right? And the more this technology evolves, the more natural will be the conversation. Let me show you now the final demo on this, which is, again, I tried to find a volunteer to help me on this experiment. I couldn't find anyone, so I exposed myself. So I'm gonna be sacrificed to talk with an avatar, but not in my language. Let's see how it works, okay?
Добро пожаловать в наш подкаст. Сегодня мы погружаемся в тему генеративного ИИ в образовании, его быстрое развитие, как ChatGPT и подобные инструменты переопределяют подходы к обучению.
Точно. Слушай, а что, в чем суть этих исследований? Они, как я понимаю, затрагивают и возможности, и риски.
Да, в общем, исследования показывают, что генеративный ИИ, его как раз становится инструментом для дополнения работы преподавателей. Типа, он помогает авторам создавать персонализированные учебные материалы, генерировать задания, но важно понимать, что это дополнение, а не замена.
Интересно, значит, роль учителя, по сути, смещается от передачи знаний к роли наставника.
Just for the record, I don't speak Russian, so this is the technology that can help us to move into a multi-language. Okay, I have a few other tools to show it to you. This one is an example of a multi-purpose technology that we can use for education. It's called Magic School. I don't think I will have time to show the video, but it basically will allow teachers to upload the national curriculum, to prepare a lesson plan aligned to the national curriculum, to adapt to the lesson to the students' need, design with you learning activities, to design an assignment, to design an activity, If you are a teacher that is not very good giving jokes, this will suggest you some jokes. If you're a student who has students with special needs, they will give you some input. So you can really customize the experience based on the context and need. So I will provide this access to this presentation so you can see later the demo that I provide.
Are you a teacher?
Another tool that is being used in the classroom, maybe more for students, but I guess it's interesting to have in the radar, is called Study Fetch. Study Fetch is a tool that students have in their laptop, and when the teacher is giving the lecture, the software starts recording the voice of the teacher and transcribe the voice into text. When the text is in the computer of the student, the text can be translated into study notes or can be translated into a chatbot. So you can literally chat with your teacher after the class with all the contents that have been there in place. So we will have to make the classes very attractive to be more attractive than a chatbot, but that's a joke. Okay, now someone asked me to bring AI on assessment. So I brought this one that is very simple, but to some of you it could save time. So when you have a multiple choice assignment or test, and you will have this chart with the results, there is this tool, ZipGrade, that you take the picture, you scan the results, and the results will go directly to the platform. So the students get immediately updated on what was the result. Unlike the fact that the student had to revise by hand one by one and then from the paper to bring into the computer. So this is a really time saver for assessment. So as you have seen, there are a lot of tools, and here we have even more, so you can explore them in this QR code, many of the tools that are in this field. So we won't have time to explore all these hundreds of tools, but I want you to save this link so you can explore it in your community with your colleagues and to decide what of these can be helpful in classes. So we will see here, based on what I have shared, that we have tools that can really enhance the role of teachers to make learning materials, to automate the feedback, to get some tutoring, to have contextualized assessment. So many tools that can benefit the role of the teacher. But also the students. The students can get a tutor or a remote coach that can give inputs or can help you to practice for an exam, or can give you real-time support when you have a question. If you're studying after hours and you need an input, this is going to be very helpful. And the evidence is showing us that this really adds value to the learning experience of the students. Now, if you are an administrator, or a principal, or a manager, this also can be a time saver, because we can get analytics with some of inputs of the trends, as we saw. We can illustrate the results of the matrix or the analytics in a way that we can tell stories, we can reach out to our communities. We can provide tools with more levels of accessibility for students with special needs. We can translate things that in the past were too expensive to translate. So there are a number of opportunities behind. Now, I wanted to stop 1 second here because I believe this is not only about educational contents. The more we use these technologies, the more integrated are in our life, the more people are using. Look at the evolution between 2024 to 2025. This is according to the Harvard Business Review. People are using this technology also to ask personal questions, to ask emotional questions, very sensitive ones. How can I organize my life? Or how can I find purpose? I would never expect that you ask these questions to a bot, but this is happening today. So I think it's really important we as professionals provide guidance to students to know when they can trust these technologies and when they should not trust it. But this is happening anyway. It's part of the context. In the US, they have, for instance, adopted this tool, which is called Sonar, and they have used Sonar as social-emotional support. So when students is under distress, he or she goes to this app and asks for help. And if the software identifies that there might be a student under serious risk, obviously it connects it with a professional. But otherwise, it will give some guidance and some support that I believe is something that is worth to explore, but is becoming more and more an emotional tool as well, not only a cognitive one. Now, what can we learn from the evidence today? The evidence is still preliminary. We still don't see large-scale implementations for years and years to have robust evidence, but there are a few things that already are coming out of the trends. One is users tend to over-rely on these systems. It's just like when you're using a driverless car. After a couple of minutes, your brain stops checking if the driverless car is stopping in the red light or turning properly. Something similar happened here. We end up relying on these tools. And this is something that it could be risky. It could be risky because it's good to get this help, but we should not trust this help. We always have to double check. Here on the right-hand side, you will find some meta-analysis that is showing us interesting things. It's improving the performance in high-order thinking skills, but at the same time, in many cases, it's reducing the mental effort. Right? So we use this as a prosthetic. And that is something that I think we have to be careful because there are opportunities, but at the same time, we cannot trust these technologies blindly. So my suggestion is when we think in the integration of this into education, we have to make some dimensions to move away from this cloud into something more actionable. So look at the vertical diagram. We are kind of part between high and low cognitive tasks. There are some tasks that will require a lot of thinking and some others that we can do automatically. And the same with AI. We can have low AI contribution and high AI contribution. If you have low AI contribution and low cognitive tasks, you will have an error. If you have low cognitive contribution but high AI contribution, we have a problem because the machine is thinking on our behalf, and then we have problems of integrity, right? The interesting part is on the top. Let me do a zoom of the top section. So you can have low or high cognitive AI contribution, but always high cognitive contribution, reflecting deeply. So in the left-hand side, you can use these tools for automatic stuff or simplified stuff like formatting, brainstorming, or translate. Very useful, but not transformative. Now, in the right-hand side, I think it's a more interesting area where we can think in very concrete learning activities, where the student can use these tools to expand their knowledge, to double check, to remix, to extrapolate, to criticize, right? High cognitive contribution and high cognitive AI contribution. This is more the Socratic part, which I think is the main promise. But not everything is gold. Sometimes these systems offer low quality information. So there are a few things that we have to keep in the radar. Number one, we should not trust these things. Never. We have to always check, right? We have to use them wisely. Understand that this technology is not perfect, and we have to be cautious of the outputs it provides. It's easy to be said, but it's something that we have to remind ourselves. Fact check all the time the information that is giving us. These systems can have biases, particularly when it's used in non-English centered communities. These systems can give us low quality sources or can invent even bibliography. So we have to always check that. And finally, we have to protect our data. Because if we put personal data into these systems, we will be training the AI with our information and we don't know where it's going to go. Okay? So my invitation for teachers, for administrators, for decision makers is, let's discuss together how can we build an AI literacy. It's not the same than digital skills, because it's fluency in terms of how to use these technologies. And I think we can separate it in three levels. One is understanding what is AI, how does it work? Understand that AI is not designed to tell the truth. It's designed to build patterns and to provide a more probabilistic response. Number two, learning how to use these tools. And I hope we will have some time to discuss a little bit about that, which is, of all these tools that we have seen this morning, which one is relevant for you? Which one can be adapted or can benefit your work? And number three, being able to evaluate the quality, the reliability of these outputs. We have to keep into account that these systems are context blind. They don't understand the context, and we understand the context. So always this contextual translation is really, really critical. These three skills go all together, are part of the AI literacy that I believe we have to build among our communities. So in terms of next steps, Of course, we have to think how to provide training, but the training should be supported by a policy that provides some guidance. What is good to use, under what context, for what age, and how to use it. When we have these two elements, we can explain very concretely what does it mean a responsible use, depending on the age, depending on the context. And then evaluation, how we are going to prepare the students, the teachers, the professionals in general, to evaluate the outputs of these systems. Because as we have seen today, some of them are really they look really real, right? So, before closing, I think it's fair to say that we have observed a number of opportunities and a number of challenges. The list is very long because there are many, many opportunities, but as we see the opportunities, we have to be mindful of the challenges. I wish we could only keep the green column, but we have to cap the red one on the eye as well. My invitation here is to do two things. One is, out of all these transformations that are coming, and new more will come in the days and months to come, we'll have to build coherence. That means not everything is useful for everything. We'll have to select what is relevant, right? Sense making is something that machines today cannot do, luckily, so far. I don't know tomorrow. And the second thing is common sense. Common sense is a real powerful tool that can help us to do judgment on when and how to use and benefit out of this technology. So let me close with 5 messages that in a way summarize what I have presented, and we are going to have now time for a Q&A. Number 1, I think it's really important to ensure that there's governance and guidance for the education community to be sure to navigate this in a safe manner, right? Obviously, governance is something that will evolve as these technologies evolve, but trust me, all the education systems are in this process of making sense of all these disruptions. Number 2, it's really important to develop a plan of how to consolidate AI literacy among our communities. At all levels, even parents. Not only at the level of the user, because that's not enough. It has to be at the level of a critical thinker, a person that can reflect on the outputs, right? I think the critical thinking is even more relevant than the technical skills, because these technologies will continue to evolve. Number 3, how can we make this technology a tool that opens opportunities but not exclude the most fragile? So that will mean an inclusive architecture, an inclusive technology in terms of access, but also in terms of quality of the data, and provide the needed safeguards that are really important to have in place. And finally, I think it's important to have a clear picture of the dilemmas that these tools offer. We are not ready to understand all the dimensions. This technology is evolving incredibly fast, but we have to get capacities here to understand what are the challenges behind, who can be left behind, who can be more fragile of these technologies. And I believe with this image, we can close. Civilizations advance by increasing the number of operations which we can perform without thinking about them.